What is going on, everyone? This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and today I am stoked to be joined once again by my good pal Joseph Moran of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. Joe, how you doing on this fine Saturday, my dude?
I'm doing real good. I'm looking real forward to a lot of chats we're going to have. Maybe some spicy takes. But I'm ready to have them.
It is a week for some spicy takes. There's been a lot of developments, and again, I'm excited to have you on. You know, you are a PlayStation-focused personality in the gaming community, and there have been a lot of PlayStation developments this week. So, you know, I wanted to make sure we had some nice balanced conversations as opposed to just dogpiling on PlayStation Plus being bad and Jim Ryan being a bad dad and whatever else is going around on the internet. Yeah, obviously we're going to be talking about new Game Pass features. We're going to be talking about PlayStation Plus's refresh. We're going to be talking about the new battleground of gaming subscription services. We're going to be talking about the death of E3 and so much more. So much more. But before we dive into all of that, for the amazing people joining us live on youtube.com/Windows Central Gaming or listening on audio services, let them know who you are and where they can find you.
Oh, me? Just little old me?
Little old you, yeah.
I'm sorry. I was making a tweet at Elizabeth Warren. You can find me over at Mr. Badbit on Twitter. You can find my show, The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, wherever you find your podcast services, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. It's where each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. This week, we had the host of Beyond on, Jonathan Dornbush, and we had an amazing conversation breaking down the PlayStation Spartacus reveal like we're going to do today. So yeah, go ahead, check that out. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It was a fantastic show, but not like this, because this may be even better.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun today. There's a lot of stuff to dive into. Some quick housekeeping before we dive into the first topic of today's show. If you haven't checked it out, Jez Corden and I have launched a new show on Windows Central Gaming called Checkpoint, which is not a podcast. I know I've had a lot of people say, hey, why isn't this on podcast services? This is a video-focused show. It won't be on podcast services. I apologize. I hope you can find it in your hearts to forgive me. But it is a 20-ish minute video show on our channel where we break down a lot of the biggest gaming news of the week. So if you haven't checked that out, give that a watch. And then if you're listening on audio versions, be sure to review the show. Again, we are late to the game on the audio version, so all of your reviews help get that out into the ether, out into the universe, and we really appreciate it. First topic of today's show is something that Jez Corden and I broke down on our episode of Checkpoint this week, and that is the fact that Xbox Game Pass is getting a family plan. There's been a lot of folks in the community who want that feature. If you have a lot of people within one household who want to take advantage of the value of Xbox Game Pass, pretty much everyone had to have a different subscription. I will give everyone here one pro tip. If there are only 2 people in the household, you can fudge it with console sharing. So I have a Series X in my office. I have a Series S in my living room. I have set the Series S to my home console so my wife can take advantage of all the Game Pass games on there. So if you only have 2 Xboxes, that's a workaround. You don't need that family plan. But if you have up to 5 people in your household, it sounds like this family plan will have you covered. We don't have official pricing yet, so it's hard to say exactly where this will land, but for up to 5 people, it's safe to say that this will be significantly cheaper than subscribing with 5 different accounts. So Joe, are you currently an Xbox Game Pass subscriber?
I happen to be, and I'm not at the $1 tier either. What? I've been a game. I know it. Listen, we exist. Some of us do pay full price for Game Pass. But no, for me, I've been a Game Pass subscriber for I think since Sea of Thieves dropped. I think there was like a lull where it lapsed, but like I've been a Game Pass subscriber for a minute now. I'm interested in how this family plan would roll out because I'm all about saving some money. So like, is this gonna work like how like the Nintendo Online works, where like I could just find 4 other friends and we can like, huddle together and share a Game Pass?
That's my assumption, is that you would have basically 5 Xbox accounts that you would link to it, similar to the Nintendo Switch, where you kind of get everyone in. Um, and again, according to the terms and conditions, it sounds like it's quote unquote a household, but according to some details that Jez shared, it seems like it's geo based. So as long as you're
Mhm.
pretty much in the same country, more than likely you'll be able to, spread that household a little bit. The
Yeah.
terms of what a household is might be a little loose. And then who
Okay.
knows? Maybe they'll become a nefarious villain like Netflix and say, you know what? If you're sharing your password, $3 a pop. Let's go. All right. We're
Oh,
tracking that
that's the
IP
worst.
address. We're hunting you down. We're shutting this deal down. Um, so something Jez and I talked a little bit about here, and I want to pose this question to you and anyone
Okay.
watching. Um, if you're looking at the current big picture of Xbox Game Pass, what it offers, are there any omissions to you right now? Are there any features that you want to see? Obviously, I personally think Xbox Game Pass is far and away the best deal in gaming for various reasons, day and date, a huge library of titles, blah blah blah, cloud gaming, blah blah blah. But are there any things that you feel are missing as we're working towards this kind of battle of the subscription services and trying to, build the ultimate gaming subscription?
Yeah, I so first as the host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation show, you would think no Game Pass, it sucks. Again, everybody's in it for $1. The developers, I'm thinking about them. Hearts, my prayers go out to them being on this service. I don't know. It is the best deal in gaming, hands down. Like this week didn't change any of that. Yeah, Xbox Game Pass is if you are into the Xbox ecosystem, if you're into their first party games, it is a no-brainer. To me, it's like, why don't you have Game Pass if you're an Xbox person at this point? Um, so there's not much that they can like theoretically do for me, but I do see them like go like, hey, here's Paramount Plus for a month. Here's Crunchyroll for a month. Here's these little doodads and knickknacks that you get every month just for being a subscriber. They really want you to feel like you want to be here rather than having to be here. So I think the one thing that they can do, and when we talk about Spartacus, this will definitely get brought up again, is an annual plan. Give me a good annual plan, a good discounted rate of like instead of paying, I don't know, 180, I'm paying 150 for this year plan of Xbox Game Pass. Because to me, that's how I like to roll my subscription services. I love getting the big bundle and then to me saving, a good like 20, $30 by doing that. I think that's to me one of the big things they can do. What about you?
Yeah, I totally agree. I would love to see an annual discounted price because yeah, I'm in the $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate kind of tier. And yeah, it would be nice to say I'm gonna have this for a year, no questions. Like you said, I signed up for Game Pass when Sea of Thieves dropped, and I've been signed up ever since. And yeah, if I go through and do the math, which I've seen some people on Twitter doing the math about how much money I've wasted on Xbox Game Pass because I'm only renting these games, and
Yeah.
that's another conversation that hurts my brain, and I'm not going to go into it. But yeah, if I could do annual discounted rates, I think that would be huge. And I really, really hope that that is the case with the family plan because
Yeah.
let's say hypothetically, the family plan is $30, $30 a month or whatever. If there is no annual price, $30 a month, that's going to add up in a year. That's going to be a pretty big chunk.
Yep.
And so I do hope that they look at that and offer that as a way to give a good discount. Something that I talked about on Checkpoint is the fact that with Xbox's emphasis on cloud gaming, I think it's a little bit weird that Nintendo is really the only one doing online multiplayer for their retro games. Um, so that's something that, again, statistically, I'm sure there's only a small number of people, some gaming boomers like myself, who want to play Fusion Frenzy online. And I
Yeah.
get that that's not probably a huge priority for most people. But that being said, considering Game Pass has this huge library of retro titles and backwards compatible titles, I would love to see them leverage their cloud support and let me play those games online with a friend. And I would love for them, quite frankly, to have an option to play any local only multiplayer game in a cloud setting. But I get it's complicated, and again, probably not a priority, but still. Um That is one area that I think when I look at how they can improve the value proposition of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate specifically, that is one way they can do it because there's perks. You get Xbox Live Gold, but a lot of people have complaints about Gold, and really Gold, if we're being brutally honest, just serves as a paywall for online multiplayer that only
Yeah.
exists on the console side of Xbox ecosystem. So I don't really think that, for me personally, that is a value proposition. I think that is a way that on
Mm.
paper they can push marketing words and say Game Pass Ultimate is a better value because you get gold, and gold's normally $9.99 a month or whatever.
Yeah,
But
I saw Jez tease like, oh, Xbox, you might see them remove that online barrier. Um, and to me, like I was thinking about that. I'm like, first off, that'd be great, but how how does that impact Xbox in terms of like the added benefits? Because to me, I'm thinking purely out of business. I want to pack this thing with so much perceived value that it is unignorable,
mhm.
you know. And so like by saying, yeah, you could play your games online, you could cloud stream on this thing, and you get, you know, our games day and date on this service. That's already a really attractive, like, you know, proposition. By getting rid of one of those things, to me, it kind of, and I'm not saying like this is a negative light, but kind of devalues it a little bit. In a business land, I want to make sure that again, this thing is unignorable. So like to me, the one thing I know, I think Xbox does this too. They do, yeah, they do. So I would like to see more of is like, you know, Halo Infinite. When you're playing, you get like a weapon skin every month. I think doing more of that for their first party games and then even some third party games would be something that could benefit them. So like, you know, I know Apex Legends may have a deal with PlayStation because they have some weapon skins over there, but like, why not have an Xbox, you know, akin deal with Apex or with Fortnite as well? Those games are so big that, you know, I don't think one ecosystem could exclusively tie them down, but like give more benefits to players, I think is really important because though I think Paramount Plus is a great tie-in and Crunchyroll is a great way to get people into a service, I don't think that is going to sustain people for the long haul at this very point in time.
I agree. I love the perk system. I think they've had, frequently really amazing kind of partnerships in there, but I would love to see first party leveraged in an integrator capacity, or like you mentioned, Fortnite. Imagine if they put Master Chief. You can get the Master Chief Fortnite character. If that was a Game Pass perk, ooh, let's go.
Yeah,
I was tempted. I'll be real. Like, I don't play a ton of Fortnite, but when Master Chief was there, I had that credit card ready to pay $25, and I was like,
give me Banjo, throw Banjo in there.
yeah, let's go. Like, but what? And then I had to stop myself. Like, don't. You don't play a lot of Fortnite. Don't throw away $25 so Master Chief can sit in this digital world alone for the rest of time. But
I
um,
did. I did it.
and when he
Only way
comes
I'm gonna
back, I'm
play.
doing it because he's been
Yeah, the
gone
only
for.
way I'm gonna play the Master Chief on PlayStation right now, you know?
Yeah,
So I
there.
have to.
Yeah, come on. Kratos on Xbox and Master
Beautiful.
Chief on PlayStation. What a beautiful world to live in, you know?
But also, you know, actually thinking about like other incentives, if Bernie doesn't get his way, with the Activision Blizzard deal, throwing things like, you know, first off, all those Activision games, that's gonna be beautiful. But also throwing in things like the World of Warcraft subscription in there for folks
Oh
is gonna
yeah.
be a great way to incentivize people to get into Game Pass. So I think as more games litter Game Pass and as more game or more legacy games come into the storefront as well with that Activision Blizzard deal, um, I think it's going to be improved that way. I think we have to look at it in terms of how does it affect the gamer and not just throw outside like Crunchyroll or Netflix monthly free stuff in there as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Having it more focused on the quote unquote gamers is a good approach. And again, if you
Yeah.
can add value to the games people are playing regularly, yeah, they are more inclined to stay signed up for that service, especially on the more premium tier. Because
Yeah.
again, $15 a month, it's $15 a month.
Yeah. I mean, and then when Call of Duty, what, in 2023, 2024, you get all those perks as well. Like, you're going to have a reason to stay on Game Pass as more content rolls in.
Let's go. Let's keep that momentum right. And that's the
That's
key
right.
thing is you drop big games like Forza, you drop big games like Halo Infinite, and then there's the lulls. where we don't have games for a little bit, and you still have to leverage third-party partnerships. You still got to leverage perks, leverage some kind of incentives to keep people signed up, and that's how you maintain a subscription service, and that's how you grow a subscription service. And they're doing a good job, I think,
Oh yeah.
leveraging third-party, trying to fill in perks like the Paramount Plus thing with the Halo TV series. That's something that I was shouting for, months ahead of launch. Like, please do that. Like, if you don't do that, that is such a huge fumble for you.
Guardians,
Yeah,
like
yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy, a game that was
great
in
pickup.
a lot of the Game of the Year conversations. So they're doing a
Honestly.
good job, despite some of the criticism regarding first party. They are doing a good job trying to make Game Pass consistently compelling.
Yeah.
But now, this is the part of the show where I'm excited to have you on as the PlayStation guy. And before we get into that, I got to give a shout out to everyone joining us live. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that like button, share out the show, all that great stuff, because we are going to get into some of the basically roller coaster of emotions that happened this week regarding Xbox versus PlayStation and the rumor cycle, the acquisition cycle, all that great stuff. So, after a great deal of speculation and a report from Bloomberg, PlayStation Plus 2.0 has officially been revealed. We have all of the juicy details on the 3 tiers of PlayStation's new refreshed subscription service that combines all the benefits of PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now into one convenient package. So let me break down exactly what these 3 tiers are, just so everyone has context for what PlayStation is offering here. So the first tier, PlayStation Plus Essential, $9.99 a month or $60 for a year, and this acts essentially as PlayStation Plus as it was in the past. You get your monthly games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage, online multiplayer. The next tier is PlayStation Plus Extra, which is $15 a month or $100 a year, and this adds a catalog of 400 PS4 and PS5 games. One quick note here is all of the games in this tier are downloadable, can be played natively. And the final tier is PlayStation Plus Premium, which is $18 a month or $120 a year, and this adds 340-ish games via PS3 cloud streaming, and then PS1, PS2, PSP, and that is a mix of cloud streaming as well as native titles. So I'm excited to get your perspective on this, Joe, because you primarily play on PlayStation. So this service for you, I think for a lot of people on PlayStation, was designed to kind of increase the value proposition of PlayStation Plus and make PlayStation Now's offerings more compelling. So how do you feel about what PlayStation is offering here?
I need to preface this again. Game Pass is the best deal in gaming. And it seems like for the foreseeable future will remain the best deal in gaming. There's no argument. It is the best. Now that you Xbox fans got full on that information, here's the other thing. Something could be the best while another thing could be just fine.
What?
Right? Like, I know. No. I'm not
condemn
a Sith.
It to hell.
Right I don't work in absolutes. What I will say is this is imperfect. By all means, I think this is fine. Honest to goodness, I think most of it is fine. I think as I'm looking at the PlayStation side of the conversation, we're mostly annoyed at the premium tier. And I feel like this service could have been great. Like right now, this is rocking at a 6 or a 7 to me, right? It's like good. It's fine. This could have been an 8.5 is what I'm trying to tell folks, because people love them numbers. Because if you just rolled in, hey, you get backwards compatibility, you get, streaming for $14.99, well, then you're like, okay, there's no day and date, but like, at least I can play some classic games like Siphon Filter on here. Yeah, at least I'm getting some cool backwards compatibility stuff and some cloud streaming stuff. That's where I think they done guffed.
They done guffed.
They done guffed. Because to me, I'm looking at the extra tier going, all right, and this is my other problem with it. If that library is good, I'm in. But the problem with this rollout isn't the fact that it doesn't have day and date. That's actually one of my least concerns. It's actually the fact that they told us how much we're going to pay for this thing and really not much else. Like they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're gonna get God of War, you're gonna get Returnal, you're gonna get Miles Morales. Okay, and what about the other 497 games? They're like, and at a later date. It's like,
TBD. TBD.
yeah, it really did feel like they're just they put this thing out there because they know that they're going to talk to their stockholders in a day or two, and they want to show that they're hip and they also have a service. So that's really my biggest like woe is like I feel like the premium tier is a tack on. It doesn't feel premium, and the fact that this rollout just feels like it lacks soul. If that makes any sense.
That does, because
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of, obviously have been a lot of direct comparisons to Xbox Game Pass with, PlayStation, Xbox constantly being pitted against each other.
Yeah.
And a lot of the messaging from, reports ahead of this were saying that like PlayStation Plus is going to reveal its answer, quote unquote, to Xbox Game Pass. There's a lot of people because of that expecting it to be this one-to-one. I agree that I think the rollout was not that exciting, and the rollout in terms of pricing, especially, in my opinion, huge fumble. I
Yeah.
don't. To me, there is no need for 3 tiers. I think that's completely unnecessary, and the fact that your third tier is $18 a month when if we are looking at the direct competition, their premium tier is $15 a month, and people are saying, well, I like their tier more. I get,
Yeah.
I get more perceived value from their tier. Why is yours more expensive? So I think that is a fumble. If I was PlayStation, I would have said we have the PlayStation Plus base tier, the cheaper tier, and then we have the $15 a month tier, and that includes everything.
Yeah.
$15 a month, that is the baller tier with everything. Because a lot of people are complaining about PS3 being only cloud streaming.
Yeah.
Like you said, they are telling you that if you pay $18 a month, you get 740 games, which is huge. That is impressive. But they're not even going to give us 10 games that are in that list. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell's that about?
And to me, it's like, and also not giving the consumer the option of buying those PS2 games. Like they didn't talk anything about what they're doing outside of the streaming service in terms of
That's
like,
true.
can I buy Dark Cloud? Like I did back on PS4. Like, can I go out there and buy, Ratchet and Clank on PS2? Like, do I have to be, subscribed here to get that? I think is another fumble and something where like again, the perceived value will be greater as more and more this library is trickled out. The other problem that I have with it was when they say regularly updated. Why just can't you say monthly? Like to me,
That's
it's
too
like,
big of a commitment. No, regularly. At a
but it's
cadence we
like,
determine is regular.
yeah, it's like you guys already do monthly like rollouts with PlayStation Now, so just say monthly. Like I don't get it. So to me, the rollout is the most infuriating thing, and I think I want to get this one out here in the ether. I hate the comparisons between Game Pass and Spartacus or whatever the new tiers, because to me, I think Matt Piscatella said it perfectly. It's like if you bought a console right now, I think it's like less than 1 in 5 people own both.
Exactly.
So obviously
Yeah.
people are making their decisions and sticking to the boxes. So if Game Pass was appealing to you, you probably already own an Xbox. And if it wasn't, you probably own a PlayStation. And I feel like people are losing track of this. Xbox, its brand's focus is Game Pass. They believe that's where the future is going to be. And that's not to say they don't care if they sell, their consoles. They obviously do.
Yeah.
But to me, when I take a look at the Xbox ecosystem, the brand, or sorry, the hardware complements the software, right? So like Xbox doesn't mind if you're playing on a Series S or X or PC or tablet or phone. They just want you to be subscribed to the service. Whereas if you're taking a look at the PlayStation side, it's in reverse. They care about you buying the hardware and the software is complementary to it. And I feel like that's what people are losing track of. As and that tangent aside is really like this service is really just complimentary. If you have a PlayStation, you may be interested in it. But my biggest problem here is like if you're a PlayStation fan, like I stated earlier with Xbox, is like if you own an Xbox, you should be owning Game Pass. Right now with this new tier, I don't see the need for you to go anywhere above essential.
And
And
that's
I think
That's where I'm at. I have, I'm one of the, I guess, elite few, according to Matt Piscatella, who has a PS5 and a Series
Yeah,
X. I'm grateful for that. But looking at this as someone who does like PlayStation, who plays my PlayStation, I personally don't see a huge drive for me to upgrade beyond the fact that I quote unquote have to pay for online and have to pay for cloud saves with the essential. PlayStation Plus games, generally speaking, have been solid, and there's been a lot of great offerings there. And if they're going to continue that trend, then cool. I'm absolutely happy with Essential. But like you
yeah,
said, with on the Xbox camp, the value is absolutely astronomical. So if you're paying $10 a month for gold, like the incentive to just convert that to Game Pass Ultimate for $5, like to me, that value proposition is a lot more appealing than what PlayStation is offering here.
yeah.
And I totally agree. I think for PlayStation people and PlayStation fans, especially legacy fans who've been PlayStation players for a long time, those retro titles will be compelling. As I made fun of myself when Nintendo did the expansion, Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. Because again, the value proposition there for someone who's outside of Nintendo is probably bad. Looking at that, you're
Yeah.
like, they're charging that for that, and then me, who's like, oh, I love Nintendo 64. I'm just the idiot who bought the year pass because
Yeah.
those titles are important to me, and I'm not here to tell you what's important to you. But I think that if you are a PlayStation player, there will be some compelling titles here.
Yeah.
Speaking on the retro stuff,
Ooh,
are
okay.
there any specific titles that you feel that this service has to have, or that would make you instantly sign up for the premium tier?
You know what I was thinking about is the games that won't be there. So like I would love to see Crash and I would love to see Spyro. Those aren't coming to this service. The things that helped make PlayStation, the games
uh,
that like I align so heavily with as with my childhood, are not going to be on this service. But there is a big soft spot for me on PS2 when it comes to games like Time Splitters 2.
oh, oh,
Time Splitters 2 was the
banger.
goat for a very, I'll allow it. Is just phenomenal. It is one of the best, like pre or like just a little post Halo shooter that you can get. And I would just love the opportunity to experience that again because I remember playing with my friends and like playing against bots and like all the characters were stupid. You'd have like a sock puppet versus like a candy cane. But like you loved it. Because the shooting was so good. So I would love to see Time Splitters in there. I would love them to confirm some classic Ratchet and Clank. But there's some titles that like because I was like 9, I didn't have this disposable income on, so like I would love to play like Animusha,
Oh
games
yeah.
that I missed out on. I would love to play the classic GTAs on here, not the remake thing, not that abomination, but like the classic GTAs on here. Siphon Filter is a huge love of my life when it comes to the PS1, or even just like Wave Race. I believe. No, wait, was that 64?
Oh, 64, yeah. Wave Race is
Yeah, no. They
nice try,
PlayStation.
dude.
Yeah, nice try. No, PlayStation had like a Wave Race clone back in the day that I loved. I remember playing it on PlayStation. Give me one of them, But like for me, I'm not much of the retro gamer because I play the classics and I'm just like, oh, it doesn't control well. This should control better. To me, I feel like the most important thing when it comes to retro stuff is give me trophies. If I
You have
can
an
unlock
addiction,
trophies,
okay?
I mean, I have a thirst and a hunger for unlocking platinums, but I'm not gonna go cheat myself and get those easy plats for like $1, like my co-host. I'm sorry,
Like
Kyle, you have a problem.
Rand? I see you in the chat, Rand. Yeah,
Rand,
that's right. I know
come
I
on.
know what you've done. You know what you've done.
How much you had to sacrifice to get that million, Rand? How much you
Garrison.
had to sacrifice?
Garrison got your back. Jet Moto. Jet Moto.
Jet
That is
Moto,
yes.
thank you. Yes, dude, so good. But like to me, I'm like by unlocking like trophies, which we've seen the blueprints and the schematics of like having PS2 games unlock trophies, and PSP, if I wasn't mistaken, we're supposed to get trophy support. That would be dope. Also, speaking of PSP, dude, all the classic like the card Metal Gear game. Oh my God, get that in there. Get all the Dynasty Warriors in there. Like the PSP has a great library attached to it. Start like, that's actually the thing that excites me is the fact that they have PSP support on here and how awful it's going to look on a huge blown up screen.
240p blown up to 4K. Yeah, let's go.
Exactly.
Let's go, baby.
It's gonna be beautiful. But like that's actually what I would really want because that would incentivize me to play the classics.
Yeah, there for me, I love PlayStation 1 era. PlayStation 1 era to me was one of the most wild and inventive periods in gaming. Like the
Mhm.
teams were allowed to make whatever they wanted and really experiment in amazing ways, and that led to so many cool games that we don't see anymore. So for me, there's a couple PS1 standouts that I would need to see in there for me to even consider signing up. Toomba, first and foremost. That is
You
such a sleeper hit. Toomba is
you
ooh,
and Kyle, man.
oh my god, that game does not get enough cred, does not get enough love. I would go
Mhm.
back and play Toomba 1 in a heartbeat. Toomba 2, that can be lost to time forever. I
Yeah.
wouldn't really mind. Another series that I love and wish PlayStation would revisit in a modern era is Ape Escape. If they could give me Ape Escape 1 through 3 in that collection, let's go. I'm ready. That introduced the that was one of the first games that ever had dual stick support.
Yeah.
That was the game that like pretty much forefronted dual stick gaming, and I remember being blown away by that technology back in the day.
Yeah. I would what is it? A Legend of Dragoon? Kyle always like Joe. You never even heard. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah. Oh
couldn't even JR like RPGs for me did not get on the scene until like I think really Mass Effect for me. I would never really mess with RPGs as a kid. I was really much like give me an RTS, which is I know, me RTS, or like a first person shooter. And that was really what I was at when I was a kid. But like Legend of Dragoon, like there's so many things I feel like I missed because again I was just a yay little top, not even this high. So like yeah, I would love to for all these gaming legends have told me this game, like, like, what is it? Guns of the No, not Guns of the Patriots. What's MGS2? What was, what's the title of that one?
oh god.
Sons of Liberty. There
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go.
yes.
Like, I want to know why that game is so revered. Even that series, because I fell in love with Kojima with Death Stranding. So, like, I know, yell at me, it's a walking sim, I get it. But I want to find out why these games are so legendary, and I think there's a great opportunity to experiment and to kind of just make some deals with some folks to get some classic games like classic Tomb Raider. I know my sister-in-law would love.
Yeah, there are a lot. Again, as someone who's been gaming for quite some time, has had my quote unquote loyalty, if you will, bounce around. Super Nintendo was my first console. Then I got the PS1, and then GameCube, OG Xbox. So I've been all over the place, and I have that nostalgia for a lot of these titles, and kind of understand the importance of them. In hindsight, because when you're like you said, when you're 9, you don't really know a game's important. You're like, this is cool.
Yeah,
There's giant robots. That's awesome. You
dude,
don't.
I would freak out if Star Wars what is it Terracasi Arena dropped. Like I love that game, and it's awful. It's like Boba Fett is shooting Darth Vader in the chest. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense.
Woo.
But like I loved it as a kid. Was it Battle Chasers as well? Like just put all the Star Wars games in there.
Go.
You know?
Pile them
God,
on. Pile them
yeah.
on.
Give me Shadows of the Empire while you're at it. I know it's N64. Just put it in there.
Just put, yeah, why? Tear down the barriers. All right.
Honestly, if there is one game that I would legitimately freak out for getting like a remake or just a remaster, like Aspire Media does it, is like if I see a Dark Forces or Shadows of the Empire, I would legitimately lose my cool. Like that's my Ape Escape, man.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm
Okay.
gonna get to some super chats. I'm gonna give a shout out to all the amazing people joining us live. I see Fawns in the chat. I see Rand Al Thor, Yodani, Harjeet Chani, Mr. Joanna Dark 9 Lives. A lot of amazing regular faces here tuning in, supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Let's get to some super chats here. Yodani, who's been a member for 7 months, says Kirby is my favorite Nintendo mascot. Is he yours now? You know what? I gotta say, I rolled credits on Kirby and the Forgotten Land last night.
Yeah.
The best Kirby game ever made. Kirby, I love Kirby. I've loved Kirby. But I've also accepted that most Kirby games are okay. Most Kirby games are not fantastic, and that hurts me. And when I saw this game revealed, I was hoping that they were finally going to give Kirby the respect he deserves, give him that Super Mario Odyssey glow up, and they did it. I will not say it's on the same level as Odyssey, because Odyssey is one of the best games ever made. It is the best 3D platformer ever made, and Kirby's not quite on that level, but
I don't know if I agree with these Nintendo takes.
stop. Just accept the truth, all right? You may not
That's
like
3D
it.
Mario?
I said the best 3D platformer. I didn't say the best 3D
Oof.
Mario.
Yeah,
No.
I don't even.
I know you're used to like Ratchet and Clank or whatever that you have to suffer through on PlayStation. But,
Listen,
all right.
Mario Odyssey is the most overrated Mario game.
Okay, we are about to
3D
fist
World-
fight remotely.
3D World's the best 3D Mario game, but like
3D
and it's not even
World?
close.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's good. It's fantastic.
And Kirby sucks.
Aha! I see what you did there. You better be joking, all right? That better be a clever wordplay. Oh.
Listen, the great and late Nintendo guru hated Kirby, and in his honor, I will hate Kirby as well.
Okay, bad take. Mr. Bad Take, at it again. At it once again here. Harji Chani dropping a code for Xbox Tiny Tina's US. RG, appreciate that. You could have DM'd me that. I don't have that game, so you could have just shot that to my DMs, but if you want to give it to someone else, fine. That's fine.
It's really fun. It's really fun.
I've heard it's fun, and I've been tempted. But I'm working on the post game of Kirby, and then I'm gearing up to do another playthrough of Elden Ring. So we'll see.
Fair enough.
Rand Althor 19 says, "Here you go, my beta buddy Miles." Okay. Question for Mr. Bad Take. Okay, just insults across the board. Do you find it interesting that all of Jim Ryan's PR about the service is about what it does not do rather than what it does well? Okay, so that is actually going to segue perfectly into the next bit of our conversation about PlayStation.
Yeah.
So with this reveal, Jim Ryan came out, did some interviews, talked about the service, was questioned about the service. And there's a choice quote going around where he is basically talking about, the virtuous cycle of development and how there is a concern that they will not be able to maintain the quality of first-party titles if they decide to do day and date. So first and foremost, are those claims legitimate, or are those just PR deflection for criticisms of the service?
Oh man, a little bit of it, column A, column B. I love when every time Jim Ryan talks, there's always a quote that I'm just like, come on, man.
It's a gold mine. Every time he has an interview, it's like, who wrote this?
Virtuous cycle?
What PR algorithm wrote this line, dude?
Exactly. No, I feel like this was legit him, because no PR person's like, what's this, virtuous? Yes, virtuous cycle.
Virtuous cycle.
Virtuous
and I've had
cycle.
people come out and say that this is a business term and people use it, and that goes back
really?
to like comparing Jim Ryan to Phil Spencer, where Phil Spencer has an air of authenticity that I think is relatable, and Jim Ryan is very much the business guy.
He's business.
Not saying that he's a bad person for being business savvy, but when you're talking to gamers and using terms like virtuous cycle, you're not winning any favor. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, Jim Ryan says a lot of things, and some of them just don't know why he does. But let's talk about the day and date. Is it impossible for them to keep up? I think what he's saying is the level of investment you need to make a game right now is around $200 million to make over the span of like 4 or 5 years. And his argument is the games that he makes, or how I perceive his argument, is the way that, or the games that are currently in the PlayStation portfolio can't be made at that $15 per month tier. Like when you take a look at Horizon and you take a look at, God of War, those games are, they don't have microtransactions attached. They don't have a games as service element or a live service element to have people go out there and purchase, a new like Aloy costume or a new like, skin for Kratos' axe. And so there's a bit of reality that has to be made here where it's like, yeah, no, Ghost of Tsushima is like pretty feature complete. Um, and so to me, taking a look at day and date, I feel like their portfolio right now would hurt them business wise to put their games at $15. Because if it is, what everybody says, a one and done experience, well, I beat Horizon in a month, I would then ergo get my, cancel my subscription. So in a business sense, that's why I don't feel like PlayStation is up to the task right now. Can they do it? I think so. I think there's absolutely they could if they wanted to. I feel like they also have a great legacy of titles that they could throw on this service and make it appealing. But they know, as well as I know, that we are weak. Like we are a fickle bunch. We will say a lot of stuff. Like real talk, I seen a lot of Xbox dudes go, I will never buy a $70 game. And then I saw them playing Horizon Forbidden West. Right. So like to me, there's a lot of like, I say I won't purchase a $70 game, but they know that you will. Like
or Tiny Tina's Wonderland on Series X.
Or Tiny Tina's Wonderland on Series X. So like they know that though I would love to pay $15 for their games, they know that the realization is that this audience doesn't necessarily mind paying money or paying $60, $70 for games. And that's just like the hard reality is like, they know that we're weak. They know that they can get a little bit more money out of us in the next 2 to 3 years until we start expecting more from them as as Game Pass becomes a more appealing service to the wider audience. So like your Redfalls, your Starfields, all the PlayStation, or sorry, the Xbox Studios games start really coming out. That's when PlayStation's going to really feel the pressure of doing that. And so to me, I feel like that's why we're getting so many games as service from PlayStation, where you're getting Jim Ryan coming out there saying we're going to be making at least 10 plus games as service, because they know that their portfolio needs to evolve and change to fit the changing landscape. So they know that they can keep games off day and date, their first party games off day and date right now, but they know it's an inevitability. There will be an eventuality where I go, yeah, why am I paying $70 for God of War 3? Yeah, why am I paying this or for that? Because I can play Redfall, and that's a really great game for $15 a month. So I think as more games trickle out from Xbox and as they get their studios in line and become competitive in that sense, that's when you're going to see the push. But right now, they know we're weak. And I genuinely mean that. Like, we talk a really big game on social media. None of us are really going to be able to back it up, because if that was the case, Nintendo would be out of business right now. Like Nintendo knows, real talk, they can give their audience 6 months to buy Mario and then take it off the storefront, and people will buy millions of copies.
And it's the #1 selling game on Amazon.
They could repackage a Wii U game for $60, and they know it'll sell millions of units. Just take a look at half of the Switch's lineup, right? Like they know they can make one of the most just undervalued services that is Nintendo Online, and their audience will eat it up. And we look at them going, you guys are crazy. Why are you doing any of this? But then you see Nintendo fans are legitimately somehow having fun. So I know that was like a long rant, but honestly, the long and short of it, I feel like it'll get there. It's just not right now.
I'm glad you brought up the inevitability of day and date, because I've seen a lot of people say that PlayStation would never do this, and they will. For lack of a better phrase, they buy into the PR speak that Jim Ryan is feeding them. And I'm not trying to discredit anyone's opinions. I'm not trying to discredit PlayStation. I understand, because the reality is, when you are a company of that size, as much as we want them just to be like, yeah, day and date games, boom, here you go, they are going through a transitional period where they are restructuring their entire business model. You touched on the games as a service title. There is a fundamental reason they are leaning into that, because they understand that having a steady revenue stream for some titles offsets the concerns of investing tons of money into a game and having to wait 4 to 5 years for that to get the return on investment. So what that does is it gives you the freedom to experiment, and it gives you this opportunity to, down the road, once your games as a service library is solid, once you have Destiny going and you have the revenue stream from Destiny, that is the reason that Destiny exists, as this multi-platform purchase for PlayStation, because they understand the fundamental value of a consistent revenue stream. They're not
Yeah.
stupid, but they don't unfortunately have the raw capital right now to be like, all of our games right now, day and date, boom, let's go. And so that is why Jim Ryan is talking about the quality, because he understands that PlayStation has this perceived value of being a publisher that puts out high quality games, and they understand that they want to correlate quality with that $70, with that price increase, because they want to justify that price, because they want the extra revenue, they want that association with quality, and that is why they are stressing it. But I think in a few years, once they have those games as a service titles running, that they will absolutely lean into
Yeah.
day and date releases.
And I'm the type of person where I believe you're going to see those games as service games enter the service day and date.
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
definitely think you're going to see some games enter that service day and date. Like you probably won't get your Horizon like 3 or God of War 3 or whatever on this service, but you'll probably get, the Twisted Metals, you'll probably get the Destiny expansion, you'll probably get, whatever multiplayer game they're working on. Let's give the Resistance fans some love. They've been getting trolled for years now. Like whatever Resistance multiplayer is out there, they'll get those games on that service, because I think those games will be day one on PC as well. This is all coming to this eventual realization that it is going to be just a solo app. PlayStation knows that they have time. They don't have a lot of time to make that app good and make that app competitive. Right now, they know that they don't necessarily need it because their games still sell really well. So, like, you're taking a look at Miles Morales that sold 6.5 million units. You're taking a look at Horizon Forbidden West that is outpacing the original game currently. And they're just like, okay, this is still a business model that works. So until it doesn't, that's when you're going to see the change. So it's not going to be overnight. I definitely see this, I still call it Spartacus. I still see Spartacus being this service that's going to have a similar trajectory or path as Game Pass, where Game Pass didn't have games day and date in the beginning, but they eventually did. That's what I see this here being. And you're right. They are refocusing their entire structure on this service. And I feel like I feel like whatever games as service and whatever acquisitions that PlayStation would be making in the future, not to spoil the next topic, but that's going to be the focus. It's like, what's going to give us good services and what's going to build catalog.
Yes, they are looking towards the future. And in the interim, you can't just tell people like, the future will be cool, but right now our thing sucks. So bear with us until we figure it out. Like that can't be the messaging.
It's kind of like when Jim Ryan's like, we're not going to do crossplay for the kids. And then like 2 years ago, he did crossplay for the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So like Jim Ryan's going to say, it's just like any, CEO or whatever. They're going to say what they need to say in the moment. And then when that moment changes, they will change their tune. This is going to happen. And guys, it's okay if you're an Xbox fan to go, oh, wow, I got this. My service is better. It is. It's better. It's great. But I see a lot of people going, I'm never going to buy this day because no day and date, no purchase. And then you go on their profile and it is, them doing the Phil Spencer X and then like all of Xbox first party studios as their Twitter banner. It's like, you're never going to buy this service. Don't kid yourself. To me, I feel like as the PlayStation community, the healthy side is more really upset about premium than anything, and the lack and just the rollout more than games not being day and date. So to me, PlayStation's got some work on this service for sure. But right now they know that I'm weak, and as much as I would love to see games monthly, $15, they know that they have me for 70. And I know that too. I'm not going to kid myself. Like again, I would love games to be day and date, but they also know that I am weak and I really want to play God of War.
Yeah, and
like it's just that simple.
That's why I appreciate getting your perspective on, because you touched on, there are people who don't have a PlayStation, have no interest per se in getting a PlayStation, that are being hypercritical of the service. Yeah. And that's whatever, that's fine. You can do that. But you, as someone who plays on PlayStation a lot and likes the PlayStation ecosystem. I wanted to get your take on this because, again, I think objectively there are some issues with the rollout. There are some issues with pricing, and it doesn't have to be that this. Xbox Game Pass, I think, is better. I think a lot of us think it is better. But that, again, like you said, doesn't mean that this service is awful and no one should pay for it. Again, it's really going to cater to the legacy PlayStation fans who want that value proposition, who want that just massive catalog. Because, again, even though there's not day and date, there's still 700 some games, and that's something.
There is one issue, though, that I do want to speak on because I do feel like it's important. We totally forgot. Demos are locked behind an $18 paywall. Are you kidding me? That's garbage. Like, to me, I understand if this service, if you're going to lock demos behind a paywall, it should be under the essential plan because everybody has it, right? It's like, to me, it really is bewildering of why the most expensive tier. Not to say like demos were on its way back, because I'll be honest, I don't know how many demos I've played other than like the Halo flight test. But like, to me, it is silly that is locked behind any paywall, but even sillier that it's the most expensive. I will say this as well, as a person that does buy the annual stuff, that $120 for premium. Actually, I'm looking at that going, all right, that's not $18 a month for sure. So maybe.
Maybe. And
again, I'm weak.
Yeah,
I'm weak, and I see perceived value. I'm like, well, maybe,
I was like, if they get the year, it drops it down X%. Okay, that's not so bad. I can just again, we all do it. No matter how much trash we all talk on social media about the fundamental flaws and how egregious and terrible companies are. Yeah, at the end of the day, if they give you that one thing that you want, we'll eat that price. We all do it. We've all done it.
And I'm not and I'm not the type of guy that's gonna say Destruction All Stars was a 9 out of 10, right? Or that Predators Hunting Ground changed the way that we perceive multiplayer games. Not every game is a banger that comes out of PlayStation. It's just how the audience.
Okay, I'm clipping that and using it on Twitter. Not every game that comes out of PlayStation is a banger.
It's not every one. But when we think of PlayStation, we do think of the Horizons, the God of Wars, the Uncharted, the Ghost of Tsushima, the Last of Us, right? So like, we do think about that. And I think PlayStation knows that they got, I feel like PlayStation knows they have some Nintendo energy. They don't have all the Nintendo energy.
They're not quite, Nintendo
They're not quite there yet.
Has some energy.
Yeah. So again, the service is fine. It's not great. It has the opportunities to be great, but we'll only see that in time and when they actually show us a library.
I will say, as soon as that service does become great, I'll sign up. If they make some changes, make it the subscription service that I want it to be, I'll sign up in a heartbeat. Again,
and here's the thing. If they throw in like cool little indies as like day and dates, which they can easily do, and like, I mean, I think that infusion of money with Devolver certainly maybe could lend credence to the idea of like, if you get cool indies in there day and date, if you get some cool, AA or some cool, like what Xbox has done. Hey, you have this unproven IP that you're doing. We'll pay a chunk of that development fee. You get this on this service. If they do deals like that, then this has some promise to it. But I get it. Like day and date, if that deters you, it deters you. And I can't argue that.
Once you've seen it's hard to go back. And I think that's where a lot of these criticisms come on the Xbox side, is you have people who've grown accustomed to having the day and date releases and knowing that they can look at the slate of all the Xbox titles and say, yeah, with Game Pass, I got to play that. That is dope. And then you see PlayStation say, we're not quite ready to do that. We're not doing that, because of quality, quote unquote. And then you look at Xbox last year being the highest rated publisher. Jim, calm down.
Come on. Settle it.
It feels like this subtle dig to say that our games are of a higher quality, and that's why we can't do what the competition is doing. But then you look at the competition and their games are reviewing incredibly highly.
It seems like they're getting their virtuous cycle going.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to have competing virtuous cycles, and it's only a matter of time before Jim Ryan has to come out and say, you know what?
Resign.
Thanks to your support of PlayStation Plus, thanks to your generous support, all the millions of subscribers, we can now do day and day. And everybody goes, yeah.
Yeah, like when we see Xbox go out there and purchase billions dollars worth of companies, like them effectively saying, hey, competition like Apple and Amazon, you want to enter this space, it costs about 80 billion just to get your foot in the door. You're fighting a foe that's able to do stuff that you legitimately can't. And that is what PlayStation is right now. They are on the perceived top right now for sure, but they understand that it's changing, and they understand that their competitor is now more hungrier than ever, and they will do anything to undercut you. Yeah, what it is. So Jim Ryan does have some monumental tasks in front of him that I'm legitimately curious if he can actually handle it. Not to say that, like, I'm putting his judgment or whatever in question. It's just like I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to do what he's doing.
There is way more interest in video gaming, and more specifically the money associated with gaming right now than there ever has been. There's a reason people are looking at gaming, because it is the biggest entertainment medium right now, bigger than music, bigger than movies. It is the biggest by a lot, and that is why we're seeing countries. What was it, Saudi Arabia, that invested in Capcom? You see stuff like that, and you're like, what on earth is going on? Because they understand that there is money to be made, and when there is money to be made, people will be throwing their investments around to see what happens, see if they can scoop in, and that could be scary. That could be a problem. We'll see how that all plays out in the coming years, because when there's money, statistically, there's going to be nefarious investments and nefarious interests involved with that. So
that's a good point.
We just have to hope that the people making these big investments are doing the right thing for the people who work on games, the games themselves, and it doesn't become this really cynical industry that's just
a cynical cycle.
Yes. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. All right. So quick shout out to all the amazing people joining us today. If you are digging the show, hit that like button, share it out. We are live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/Windows Central Gaming. If you are listening on audio versions or audio services, leave us a review. All right, Joe, we got to talk about this week and the rumors that permeated social media, because it has been a absolutely wild week. It started last week, the report from Bloomberg that Spartacus was going to be revealed. And they've been saying that for a while, and they said next week, expect it, basically. And that had a lot of people buzzing about what that might be and how PlayStation is going to nail down PS3 emulation, and that's just cascaded. From here, it was just a cascade.
God, we didn't even mention the PS3 emulation. It's not good.
It's
always online streaming. Come on, sorry, continue.
Okay, so it started with Spartacus. And then I had people people that I know and trust DMing me saying, yo, 50-50 shot that PlayStation is acquiring From Software. And I'm like, what? Where on earth is this coming from? And then you start to see the rumors that, PlayStation's acquiring Konami and PlayStation's acquiring CD Projekt Red. I'm like, what is going on? Where on earth are all of these rumors coming from? And it just was cascading. And there was all of this stuff that pointed to PlayStation, not only at revealing Spartacus, but acquiring a huge developer or a huge publisher. And, a lot of people have come out since this and said, wires were crossed, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But typically, where there's smoke, there's fire to some degree. And so I have to ask, with all of these rumors that have been circulating, do you think there's any possibility that any of these come true? Do you think there's a world where PlayStation scoops up From Software, for example?
Listen, man, we saw Xbox buy Activision. Anything's possible.
The sky's the limit. Yeah, never say never is kind of my stance now in this industry.
Yeah, never say never, and talk-ish gets shot, First off, I can understand why there are so many people walking on eggshells. Nobody wants to be the person that broke $1 billion worth of deal, right? That is an industry shun that you'll never recover from. That's for sure. So I understand why so many people are mum's the word. When it comes to From Software, PlayStation already has a strategic alliance with what is it, Kodakawa?
They have a 2% investment in the parent company of From Software. Yeah.
So it's if I feel like if they wanted to do something, It would have done something. But to me, I feel like probably if anything, it's probably maybe a partnership that would I would see come out of it, because I feel like to even just step back from that, I feel like when we talk about acquisitions, Miles, it's always about how does this benefit PlayStation? How does this benefit Microsoft? But we never think about how does it benefit the purchasee?
Yeah.
Like From Software, what does From Software actually have to gain from being acquired? They already pretty much get a blank check from Bandai Namco and just go make stuff.
Yes, we trust you. Here you whatever you need, please just do it.
Here you go. And I bet after selling 12 million units in less than a month, that's never going to be an issue of them finding money or finding people to want to make stuff. So like they have the creative freedom. Do they necessarily want to go and make movies and TV shows? I don't I don't think so. And they already do like comics and other little stuff. So like I don't think they necessarily are all in on that. So I think the From Software stuff is a little silly. I think it's more like, if anything, it would probably be a partnership. But I don't see a straight up acquisition of From Software. What about you, man?
Yeah, it's the timing to me felt weird if that was to be true because
Yeah.
we're coming off the back of Elden Ring. And like you said, Elden Ring is massive. It's their biggest games. It's one of the biggest launches of all time, and that is multi-plat. So now they're in this world where they've just put out one of the biggest games ever, and you basically are going to come to them and say, "Hey, you want to get acquired so less people play your games?" Because that's no matter what. If it's Xbox, much as I'm in the Xbox camp and would love to see Xbox own From Software, the reality is their games would see way less people.
Yeah.
That is what it is. You cannot argue that, especially after seeing the widespread success of Elden Ring. You have to tell this developer that, yeah, your games are going to be played by less people. And like you said, they probably have an amazing relationship with Bandai because Bandai understands that From Software is going to put out great games, and as long as we keep giving them the resources and time to do it, that will be the case. And I'm sure they have a lot of flexibility and an amazing business relationship that would be hard to dissuade them given their
I
track
mean,
record.
think of Bandai Namco as well. I believe they're like the largest toy manufacturer. So like they have a lot of cross media thing that they can do. Like they could go out there and make statues, make, toys, sign those like, Dark Horse comic deals. I definitely I see no sense of From Software going anywhere, nor would I want them to go anywhere, because they're amazing and their games should be played everywhere.
I know
But
we fixate on acquisitions being on the PlayStation, Xbox side, just because of things like Bethesda and
yeah,
Activision and all of these things that we wouldn't think would happen. We're seeing them happen, so now that kind of opens up the floodgates for speculation on anything. Because, like you said, I wouldn't say it's impossible that PlayStation acquires From Software. I don't think
yeah,
that is a fair statement to say, but given their track record and given their reputation right now, I think the asking price is they can basically name whatever price they want, and I don't think PlayStation really is just going to spend a buttload of money just to do it. Because, like you said, not only does it need to benefit PlayStation, but it needs to benefit From Software as well.
yeah. So I think the From Software doesn't have any weight to it. But what do you feel about what do you feel about the Konami one?
Here's where I'm at with Konami, and this is something I've said
I mean,
before. I don't care who buys Konami. I just want someone to come in and save them from themselves because their lack of interest in making games for the last decade has been so disappointing. As a legacy Castlevania fan, as a Silent Hill fan, I mean, you look back at even their licensed stuff back in the day, Turtles in Time, absolutely crushed. That Cowabunga collection looks dope, and all of those games are just from this relic of the past of old Konami that used to be really good, used to care about publishing games, and now they just publish merch and pachinko machines. And the sad reality is, for a long time, they were making more money than they ever were doing nothing, and so there was no incentive for them to make games. But now I think they are understanding that there is money to be made, and they can actually make a lot of money in games. And we talk about nefarious reasons for making stuff, and whether it's fair or not, I feel that Konami would be more nefarious than other publishers with their
I think that's
incentives.
fair. I think with the Pez rollout, um,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
think there's a lot of truth there. And again, then it goes, okay, so Konami definitely needs the infrastructure. They definitely have two or three IP that people really do care about, like Metal Gear, Castlevania for you, Bomberman.
Oh,
Uh,
Yeah, let's go, Bomberman, baby. Come
so,
on, man. Throw some
um,
respect on it.
I'd rather not. So, so I think you got
Mhm.
IP that people care about, but like, if you're a PlayStation, like, are are, are those games gonna really sell by, again, purchasing the IP, then having to find studio? I mean, I bet you're gonna find studios that would love to make either of those games, but
Yes.
like, you have to pay for all of that. So I feel like that acquisition on Sony's side doesn't really work.
'Cause
So
they're not getting a
yeah,
ton of you're not getting a ton of talent out of the deal. So again, this would be a very expensive acquisition because of the reasons where you're paying outright for these IP. Which again, if Konami wants to license out IP to, let's say they just want to do publishing partnerships with Xbox and PlayStation, like cool, I would love to see that as long as I know some other parties involved to make sure the quality of these games is good. But if you're buying them outright, yeah, not only do you have to buy the IP, but you have to either assign a studio to it or in some cases build studios from the ground up to work on these IP.
yeah. And I mean, listen, Sony has been building a lot of studios and a lot of second party partnerships over the past few years. So it could happen. And who knows, maybe Blue Point is making that like Metal Gear, remake, and it's going so well that they're like, let's tie all this up. But to me, you know, I have been following the breadcrumbs and the little hints that the insiders are dropping, the ones with the luscious mane, and listening to some of their conversations. Um, I definitely feel like, to me, when it comes to the acquisition, um, if I'm Sony, I want to build the catalog of games. I want RPGs because I know I'm losing them right now with Bethesda. And if I'm Square Enix, I'm thinking my games are being very hit or miss right now. We definitely need a restructuring and realignment, and we need to know how to make a games as service and a live service game that's not Final Fantasy. And so, to me, I feel like every road leads back to Square Enix. So I feel like if there is an acquisition to go on in Japan, I definitely feel like it's probably Square Enix. And I don't know, would that do anything for you? Like, if the rumors weren't Konami and it wasn't From Software, do you think that an acquisition like that would get you excited?
Square Enix is an interesting one because I have fond memories of SquareSoft. I grew up playing a lot of their legacy JRPGs. I've been pushing for the Mana games to come to Xbox for a long time because one of my favorite franchises of all time, literally on every other platform but Xbox at this point. And yeah, it would be interesting to see PlayStation acquire Square. It makes sense. They align, their interests align. PlayStation is going out of their way to create this brand association with PlayStation and Final Fantasy. So there's already that kind of base established there. So
Yeah,
now I'm thinking if I'm PlayStation and I already have that, do I bother acquiring them if most of my sales are coming from the PlayStation side? If
yeah,
we already have this, business relationship that's working and I don't have to outright buy them, do I? It would be
yeah,
interesting and I think there's value there, and if it came with Square being restructured and getting back to quote unquote their former glory in some ways because they are clearly struggling to make profits. Every single time they put out a game, it's failed to meet expectations. Failed.
exactly.
It's like, what are your expectations then? Your
Yeah,
expectations are too high. I'm sorry. Something's
yeah.
not right.
And so, like, and that's why, like, I like this. Like, speculation's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no one's crawling in my ear telling me anything. I'm just trying to be the detective. I'm trying to be the Batman right now. And so, like, to me, I'm like, I don't see how any of these really make sense, except for, yeah, even it comes to Square, it's like, well, Square also has its hands in all sorts of pies.
Hmm.
It works so well with Nintendo. It's working on an Xbox game right now. Like, so even then, like, I'm very curious as to what the acquisition's going to be. And don't get me wrong, I'm excited for it because I am a fan, and I want to make sure that these devs, get treated a little better. And so I definitely feel like, um though these conversations are exciting, it's also something that we need to curtail a little bit because it does get a little out of hand. Because I feel like everybody's like, "So I got the inside scoop," and I really have to preface if someone's telling you they got the inside scoop, they don't got the inside scoop.
Uh,
You got the
yes,
inside
yes.
scoop, Miles?
So something I posted, because obviously I don't want to be that dude just dunking on people who were wrong, because it's just a little mean
Yeah,
spirited. But um, yeah, there's the reason we haven't heard about Activision beforehand. There's a reason we didn't hear about
yeah,
Bethesda beforehand. There's a reason we didn't hear about Bungie beforehand. Um, because you can't just casually DM someone on Twitter and be like, "Hey, bro, we're about to do this," because that
yeah,
is insider trading if it's a publicly traded company and people are going
yeah,
to jail. Like that is
yeah.
those are the stakes of leaking it. And I'm sorry, but nobody is going to do that for their random journalist friends. Sure, people might hear some things that could suggest that, and maybe that's what happened in this particular case. But yeah, don't be that person who's saying this is the last From Software multi-platform title. Don't
Yeah,
be that person, because I
right.
guarantee you don't have the info to say that. So
Yeah. Also, I want to preface this as well. For me, the acquisitions that have excited me from PlayStation are not publishers. Like, to me, I still want people to experience Final Fantasy on Xbox. I still want people to experience Resident Evil on Xbox. I still want people to experience Elden Ring on Xbox. Like, to me, what is really exciting to see out of the PlayStation acquisitions are them picking up smaller teams that have a nice relationship with PlayStation. So, like the Housemark deal warms my heart because
are you
I
talking about
love
organic
Housemark.
growth?
Yeah, that organic Whole Foods esque level of acquisition, like Blue Point, it's just like, yeah, man, this is a nice relationship you built. Haven Studios, like Jade literally used to work at PlayStation, so like they have these rapports with these studios that they're picking up, and to me, I really dig that because there was a quote coming out of Nintendo that I really liked. It's like, we're not looking to acquire anything because we want to make sure that any studio we pick up has Nintendo DNA. And to me, I want PlayStation to acquire things that have PlayStation DNA. That makes
Yeah,
any
I
sense.
think there's some interesting stuff to touch on there, because I still am in the camp that I don't think there will ever be another acquisition that's as big and as perfect as Bethesda for Xbox,
Yep.
because you see that roundtable and you know that these people are not only friends but have this legacy relationship, and it's everyone involved is stoked. Everyone involved is so
Yes.
excited about what this means for the company, what this means about the future and stuff like that. That warms my heart. And
Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't feel that about the Activision deal. I don't.
No. Me,
And again, it is a big deal, and it will mean
yes.
great things. And it better, I'm sorry, it better mean great things for the people who work at Activision. I've been
Absolutely.
incredibly vocal about that, and I
Yep.
will hold Microsoft to task on that, because again, Microsoft was just rated one of the top 10 places to work, number one, I think, in the US, and they've
Yep.
done a lot to make sure that their work culture, their environment, their studio culture is fantastic. And then you look at the recent history of Activision and it's ugly, it's disgusting. It is this legacy of just horrific treatment of people. And now Microsoft has to find a way to correct all of that, integrate all of that, and it's just going to be a huge mess. And I hope at the end of the tunnel we have a better work culture for everyone involved, and I hope that
Absolutely.
they take that on, but it doesn't have that same energy and positivity to me that the Bethesda deal.
I'm 100% with you because when I look at Bethesda and that deal happened, yeah, my heart hurt a little bit, but it wasn't like Yoda at the end of episode 3. To me, it was just like, oh, this hurts, but this makes a lot of sense. And to me, those games feel like a perfect fit for Microsoft and the culture that both of these companies are striving so hard for. I feel like you hit the nail on the head. Whatever acquisition happens, I want the leadership's cultures to be aligned because you see Bethesda make some great strides, it seems, to make sure that their workforce is awesome, diverse, and inclusive. And you're seeing the same when you see the board of Xbox. They're like half of them are women. You see, people of color on that work team. You go, oh wow, these are people that are getting a diverse voice in a different mindset when it comes to corporate leadership. And I feel like that is so important to know. And I love you hit it out of the park there. Whatever acquisition happens, I want the cultures to feel like it's a good fit. And you're right. When I take a look at Activision Blizzard, I take a look at, oh, this is a grab for content more than a grab to make Activision's culture better. Like I don't necessarily see Activision Blizzard and think Xbox. I see them as a separate entity. But that being said, that corporate structure is in desperate need of changing because there are people that are being hurt. And
Yeah. So it's tough because I feel like Microsoft really is the only company that has the resources to come in and really change the culture in a meaningful way. So in that regard, I am optimistic about the future of Activision Blizzard because most companies can't spend the capital it takes to acquire that large of investment in general, but we know Microsoft is working hard to be this role model in the industry. And I don't think that's going to go away post the acquisition. I think it'll just be a lot of work. And again, at the end of this, I am hopeful that we will see a positive change for everyone involved. And I am hopeful that this will mean great things for the future of Bethesda's, or not Bethesda, but Activision's IP and all the employees there. So again, I don't want to be cynical. I'm not trying to be cynical about Xbox acquiring them. Because I know there are a huge amount of possible positive things that can come out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when I feel like we do when we talk about acquisitions, I want to talk about that human element because you're right. Like IP is cool and all, but like to see people happy to work at like a Metal Gear game or whatever and have a good work environment is way more important than what game's exclusive to my box. It's again, those conversations are fun, but I gotta think of the human element. And again, no one knows. If people are telling you they know what it is, they don't know what it is.
Yes, I will. We've
But
seen
it's
a
from
lot of
software, and I know it.
there's been a lot of conversations that say like, at the end of the day, as long as the game is good, then that's all that matters. And at this point, I'm saying no, that's not all that matters. Like a great game can be made without the cost of people's enthusiasm for video gaming, people's entire
Also,
livelihood. So
if I can just add one more point and to move on, I would love acquisitions that aren't in like Japan, Europe, and North America. Like, dude, there's some talented folks in Africa, talented folks in India, talented people, folks in the Middle East. Like, get
mix it up.
that
Come on, let's
swath,
go.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's good ideas everywhere. I would really dig that. I know like PlayStation has like the China initiative. I forget. Forget what it's called, but like they find indie developers in China, and I saw like the Sun Wukong game is looking great. Like
Oh yeah,
there's
Black
great
Myth.
games everywhere. Yeah, Black Myth. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it doesn't have to just be in these 3 geolocations.
Yeah, and again, while we're on this conversation, while we have a quote unquote X bot and a pony together on one show, I just want to say that you touched on this briefly, but when it comes to acquisitions for Xbox, I am selfish in a sense that I want them because that means I get to play the game on Game Pass. But
Sure.
I don't really get excited about acquisitions when they strictly mean somebody else just doesn't get to play a game. Like if Square Enix was bought by PlayStation and my hope of Mana ever coming to Xbox was destroyed, I'd be sad. I'd be bummed.
Yeah.
And I know that feeling, and that's why I don't like. That's why I wasn't one of the people being like, "Yeah, Call of Duty only Xbox, bro. Let's go, haha." And because it's just not fun. Those aren't fun conversations.
That being said, if I can have a platform here to spread 2 things, PlayStation, I'm looking at you and I'm talking to you, Jim. Bring Ember Labs home. Okay, Ember Lab is a talented dev. Kina is fantastic. That's their first game. Give them that budget, man. They're gonna be able to do some great things. Ember Lab and PlayStation. I'm talking to you one more time. All right, mano a mano here. Listen, I really like Control, and I want to see a TV show. So, get to it. Get to it.
Okay. There you go.
Court Remedy, man. There would be my top pick because like Control is some of the most fascinating stories I've ever seen. And then like when I finished that game, I was just like, this needs to be a show. This needs to be all
I
of it.
would watch that show in a heartbeat.
Heartbeat.
It's got the supernatural powers meets classic X-Files mystery and
But whatever you do, don't try to combine the both. Don't try to make a TV show and a game. You know what I mean?
or if you're gonna try it, at least spend a budget on the show, please. Please. Looking at you, Quantum Break. Okay, quick shout out to all the amazing people joining us, having some, in-depth conversations about Xbox and PlayStation. If you are digging the show, digging these conversations, hit the like button, share it out. We're going to get into some kind of sad news for some and some good news for people like Jeff Keighley, and that's the fact that E3, Joe, officially has been canceled for 2020. ESA put out a statement saying there will be no digital event, there will be no event of any kind, and we are looking forward to coming back bigger and stronger in 2023. So, Joe, how did this news hit you? Are you someone who's big into E3, big into what that represents for the industry, or has it just kind of served its purpose and dwindled into obscurity for you?
There was a point in my life that I wanted to E3 to go. I felt like it needed to go. I felt like every little rework that they tried just didn't work. I saw people get their addresses leaked out, for God's sakes. And
God, yeah, they did not win any favor there. That's for sure.
No, and so to me, I was just like, this is an old idea and it needs to go. But going on, it's like 3 years in this global panorama, I'm ready to go meet a crowd of people. I'm ready to go mingle. There's no, I've been to PAX East twice, and it's seriously amazing because you're getting to meet people that all love your thing. Like, everybody's there for the games. They're not there for the consoles, believe it or not. They're all in there celebrating the thing that they love. And so E3 could very much be that. But the problem was it never was. And it tried to be, but it was always a half step. So my feelings, Miles, are conflicted because I am sad to see it go, or kind of indifferent to see it go, but I do want to see it come back, if that makes sense.
I'm kind of conflicted as well because E3 in a lot of ways represents the old legacy of the video game industry with the good and the bad. That doesn't mean the legacy of the video game industry has only been good, because that's definitely not the case. But that being said, there's something, exciting about the energy and the camaraderie of having everyone who loves gaming come together and having all of these teams who've been secretly working on these projects, and they're showing them to the world for the first time. And there is all this collective energy, and you have all these people who are there for the exact same reason, because they want to see the new games. They want to show off their new games. And there's something just undeniably special and magical about that. And so that is the good that E3 represents, and that is the part of E3 that I will miss. But that being said, we have Jeff Keighley, who also, as much as people meme or clown on him, the dude loves gaming. The dude loves the game industry. He loves showing games. He is trying.
He loves PlayStation.
Yeah, he only. Sorry. He loves PlayStation games.
So, and it's like so obvious if you just take a good hard look at it. He's never said one nice thing about the Xbox controller, not even one. Sorry.
So Jeff Keighley, infamous PlayStation fanboy, pushing his pro PlayStation propaganda event, called Summer Game Fest. But I really do think that Jeff has an exciting potential to reshape that, because he's learning how to adapt the show. But I think last year's show was pretty great. It was a huge improvement over the show before, and it sounds like this time around it won't be this 4-month event. It'll be a much tighter window of conferences, and that'll kind of, I think, get us closer to that E3 feeling. And so that gets me excited that there will still be some kind of summer event that we can all celebrate games together. And I'm hoping that Jeff manages to bridge that gap of, commercials, which boys got to get paid. I know people say it's a lot of commercials. He's got to fund the event. He's got to pay staff. He's got to get that bag. I don't fault him for that, but I'm hoping he finds that sweet spot of having the obvious ads and then the big reveal. Because Xbox, as much as people say that Jeff doesn't like Xbox,
it's a proven fact. It's a proven fact, Miles.
Xbox likes Jeff, and they give Jeff a lot of reveals, and Jeff gets
Mhm.
very excited about Xbox reveals at his events. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how the show evolves, and I'm curious to see how heavily Xbox leans into it this year, because I really think Xbox will be leaning heavily into Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, I think so too. And a lot of people clown, you know, Game Fest is just like it's a calendar. Yeah, and I get some of that, but also understand this whole event was birthed out of a global catastrophe. So it had to be worked on the fly. That means it has to be improved on the fly as well. So with year 3 of the Summer Games Fest, I think Jeff is finding its tone and it's finding its cadence pretty well. And it is a calendar in some respect of like, hey, we're partnering with all these people so that you guys know when each other's talking so that you guys can do your own thing. Right. And then have some awesome or some neat little games to showcase on this big stage, which is really awesome to see. When you see Summer Game Fest like last year, you saw some PlayStation stuff and then you saw some Xbox stuff. You saw Shuhei being adorable. You saw Phil Spencer being awesome. Like you just saw all of it. And it's always, to me, it's this feeling of like you're really celebrating all the games and Kojima. Like you're celebrating it all. And so like to me, I'm excited to see how Jeff nails its cadence, because you're right, boys got to get paid. There's got to be a Shaquatro man somewhere, but hopefully not too prevalent. Maybe he's just a lower third. But what I'm really curious is if E3 comes back, I really want it to look like PAX, because I really feel like the trade show portion is important, but there also definitely needs to be a fan's focus as well. So like to me, I would really like a few days on the floor where it is just industry and then it opens up to the public. Because I feel like that's what everybody wants E3 to be, PAX, and they just don't know it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I would love an opportunity to just have a bunch of people get together and, play some games, drink some beer, celebrate gaming. And as much as I love and want more Xbox centric showcases, more Nintendo centric showcases, more PlayStation centric showcases, what I like about this is something that you touched on, in the fact that no matter what your preference is, this show forces you to check out what other people are working on. And
Yeah.
I love those moments when, you have the Xbox guy or the PlayStation guy see something that somebody else is doing, go, damn, that looks dope. That looks really good. I don't care that this is a quote PlayStation exclusive or a Nintendo exclusive. That looks really cool. And I think having one grand stage like that where everyone shows up is exciting for those reasons, because it's not about I'm an Xbox fan and that's why I'm here. It's I'm a fan of gaming and that's why I'm here.
Yeah. And I mean, look, it's like only Jeff could bring the 3 heads of each company on the same stage together celebrating games. Like you didn't like that moment. To me is incredibly powerful, because to me it is like, this is why we're here. It's awesome to have PlayStation and love it. It's awesome to have the Xbox and Nintendo and love it. And it's about this moment. They're all trying to compete for not just your dollar, but your entertainment. And they all kind of just get it. Like Shuei Yoshida, when he sees Phil Spencer across the room, doesn't get like hiss at him. You know what I mean? Like he'll walk up to him and congratulate them, because that's what normal people do. And so I really want that energy in this Summer Games Fest. Is we're celebrating games.
Yeah.
Games.
And
That's all.
this is going to be a slightly unrelated parallel, but I've been talking to developers, I've been talking to people in the gaming industry, and it ties back to the early days when I was in a band coming up, and there was the band, there was the scene, and there's a lot of competition within that scene, because you obviously want people to listen to your band over someone else's band. You want your band to be considered quote unquote the best band, and there is all this competition where you go out of your way and you try to elevate yourself, and that to me correlates to this energy that's surrounding video game developers. Because as much as we're competing, we would get in the pit and we would mosh for our fellow bands out there, and if they
That's
had
right.
a dope track, nobody was like, man, that track hits hard and that sucks. Everybody was celebrating that, and that's kind of the correlation when I'm talking to people in the industry because they share that. They share that energy. They get excited when somebody comes out and does something new, does something innovative. They celebrate it. It's as much as they are competing, as much as Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo are competing, they are not enemies. They
Yeah.
are allies in this space, and they are excited to see their friends and colleagues succeed. And we should celebrate that more, and we should be more akin to that as opposed to making sure that Phil Spencer comes out on stage, kills Jim Ryan.
Yeah.
Like
Like
that's
I
what
really
people
hate to
want to
tell
see.
I hate to break it to some folks. No one's winning this generation, quote unquote. No one's like first, second,
What?
or third. I know it's surprising. It's just companies making money and seeing the best way to make that money, right? Because like I look at Nintendo and I'm like, are you guys like? To me, they're like the kid in first grade that was eating glue. But like that kid that's eating glue, billions of dollars it's printing every year, and it's content. It's great. It doesn't even want like it doesn't put out and don't even expect it, like a 4K console that shoots lasers into your eyes. Like we don't even care. We just want Mario to jump out of a pipe, you know. We just want Kratos to yell boy, and we just want the Master Chief to be stoic and badass and not take off his helmet. That's all. Hello,
Wow.
show.
Controversy here. We won't get into it, but I
All
don't
right.
care that he takes his helmet off. He's a human being, for God's sake. All right.
He eats
let Master
microchips.
Chiefs let Master Chief breathe. All right. I'm sorry, but if you were in that
Yeah.
heavy ass suit,
Mhm.
would you just keep it on 24/7? Just out
Yes.
of spite? Just this is me.
I'm a monument. I gotta
I,
keep
I,
it on.
I don't need comfort. I don't need to breathe. I don't need
Nope.
to eat.
Nope.
Oh, okay. I'm
He pees in
disappointed.
the suit. He should wear the helmet.
Yeah. All right, Joe. I know we are just all kumbaya with our,
Yeah.
everyone coming together and celebrating gaming, but we got to talk about Elden Ring, dude. I got
Yeah.
to confront you here on the show about Elden Ring
Fair enough.
because you like Elden Ring.
I
You've
like it a
been
lot.
yeah, but where does it stand for you right now? Because I saw something you posted on Twitter, and I just wanted to see if like my eyes weren't working, or if this was an April Fool's joke, or
All right.
what. Where does Elden Ring stand?
It
Answer
stands
me.
as whoa, geez. First off, I have to preface this. I say it to really troll Ains. I understand Ains is really old, and he doesn't get our like new hip logic. He's out of touch, is what I'm trying to say. And I was trying to tell him because when I was just like, man, I wish this game had a journal so I can remember these character names, or like a true golden path so I don't feel always lost. Like I want to feel like I'm making progression. He's like, well, back in the 70s, it feels like a D&D where I'm just like drawing and writing it. Just get a journal. Just write a journal yourself. I'm like, well, maybe the journal should just be there right in front of me and I see it.
Whoa, but
And
what NPC markers though? Don't you dare put it in Elden Ring.
I mean, apparently they're there now, you know?
Wait, that's against Miyazaki's vision, I thought.
I don't know. So to me, like, I love Elden Ring, and there are absolute times where I'm just like, this is legitimately the best From Software game. And then there are legitimate times where I'm just like, I am bored out of my mind. But I will say this. I will
Was
say this.
Bloodborne still your favorite?
Absolutely it is.
Jesus.
You always remember your first. You always remember your prom date. And my prom date was beautiful Bloodborne.
Well, I only have one question for you. If Bloodborne is the best From Software game, why is it the
Sure.
only one at 30 FPS?
That's a great question. It's an attempt at staying humble. If it was a 60,
Because
it's the no contest.
it's too good. It's too good to be at 60 FPS.
Yeah, it needs to be
Okay.
at an unstable 30 FPS so that there has to be some blemishes, or else it's too much. That said, though, like to me, Bloodborne's gonna have that place in my heart. Sekiro to me, I felt like had the best boss fights, or has the best boss fight so far. I'm on Melina right now in Elden Ring, and at this point in time, I have not fought a boss yet that I'm just like, since Ranella, where I'm just like, oh my god, this is on another level. Where like I remember fighting the Guardian Ape, or the fourth boss in Sekiro. Forget he shot lightning at you. There
Oh
were some
yeah, up in the
Yeah.
tower. I'm blanking on his name
Yeah, I
too.
can't. I'm sorry. I'm bad at Japanese pronunciation, and if I can't pronunciate it, I'm not gonna try it. But like Sword Saint, like that fight is insanity.
That
Um,
is the Sword Saint is probably the hardest boss fight that I can think of any
oh
game
really?
I've played. Like it's
Yeah.
epic, but oh my god, dude, that fight
Ooh
sweaty,
wee. Yeah,
sweaty.
yeah, and like it gave you a great like sense of progression when you fought the Guardian Ape. You're like, and I kicked your ass, and then they're like, yeah, but like do it this time with two of them,
Like, oh
and then
come
you do it.
on.
But then you do it and you're like, oh my god, this is awesome. So to me, like I feel like Sekiro has the best feeling of boss fights. But like I have to give it to Elden Ring. It is just such a magnificent open world where I am legitimately like I would like to say nearing 100 hours in this game. And I think the magic of Elden Ring is you're still going, oh crap. This is I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
You're still finding new stuff hundreds of hours into the game. And there is something to applaud there because you don't see that in a lot of well, really you don't see that ever in games. So like that's where like the discovery in Elden Ring is unmatched. And I think that's its strongest strength, or attribute, is that you can just go somewhere and find something or find a new item that does something absolute crazy, like shooting meteors out of the sky, or like build like gravity wells to suck in your opponents and then just give them a go to whack. Um, so I really feel like at times, sometimes it does feel like a From Software greatest hits, like the whirlwind the whirlwheel from Bloodborne is in
Oh yeah,
here.
yep, yep.
Like I love that because that weapon kicks ass. But like it's legitimately amazing, and it sucks in a sense that like I was really loving Horizon. I beat Horizon. I think it's great, but I'm just like it's obvious that Elden Ring is the game of the year. It's like it's obvious.
And that yeah, it's going to be some passionate conversations for game of the year this year. But I've said this once and I'll say it again. But Starfield is going to be in the conversation, that game is going to have to hit hard. That game is going to have
That's
to hit real hard.
that's the thing too. It's like with it's great because I get to ask you, the Xbox fanboy, the Xbot, is like, do we now have an expectation where we feel like RPGs and open world should be, where like it's gonna kind of be a slight against Starfield in a way, like weighted against it because we just experienced what many people feel like is a perfect RPG in Elden Ring, or you think that because they're so drastically different, it still has a the opportunity to be, and I'm gonna censor this word,
See, I am confident that Starfield will deliver what people want from a Bethesda game with this title. But we are in a world where now the expectations, and there are all these different styles of what an open world RPG is.
mm,
And so I'm hoping that the gameplay of Starfield is elevated over Elder Scrolls and Fallout, because as much as I love those worlds, as much as I love the way you can immerse yourself in it, the gameplay to me feels dated. And I think when you play something like Elden Ring or you play something like even Breath of the Wild, you see that okay, you can do an open world game and you can also have really good combat. You
yeah,
don't necessarily have to lose really good combat to have an open world RPG. And so that's going to be the struggle I think Starfield will have, is that if that engine isn't dramatically revamped, that people who just came off the back of stuff like Elden Ring are going to say like, oh yeah, the world's great, the exploration is great, the story is great, but, and I think there will be some glaring buts if the gameplay isn't dramatically different than Elder Scrolls. But
yeah.
um yeah, I still think it's going to be great. Will it be a banger? See, that's the biggest question. You're talking to someone who's very skeptical of sci-fi RPGs.
Oh, okay.
I haven't connected with most of the big sci-fi RPGs. Mass Effect
Not-
is one that I bring up constantly because it's a game that I get why people love, but I really didn't love it. And I'm not saying it's a bad game by any means, but it didn't
I
connect
feel
with
like I
me.
gotta go.
Yeah, and again, I know people love Mass Effect, but it's not
Yeah.
just Mass Effect. Anytime I've tried to play a sci-fi focused RPG, it just hasn't hooked me. And so if Starfield manages to hook me, that'll be it. I think the Outer
Okay.
Worlds is probably the closest that we've come. I think I can confidently say The Outer Worlds is my favorite sci-fi RPG by a lot. Unless you count Fallout 3 as sci-fi, which yes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Mass Effect 2. It's not even
So
close to me.
I'm excited for Starfield to come out and for people to
Absolutely.
get their hands on it.
Also, can I say real talk?
Yeah.
Going back just to acquisitions for just a second, because every time I hear Obsidian, I still am amazed that it took that long for them to get acquired. Because like they're the most like them and Ninja Theory are the most exciting acquisitions to me Xbox ever made, because these are two insanely talented studios that now have massive budgets. I cannot wait to see what Obsidian does, man.
They have proven to be one of the most consistent developers, and
Yep.
that's why I'm always, no matter what they're doing, like even if it's RTS, first person game, I'm excited because Obsidian's involved, and they, regardless of the genre or the perspective, they have proven they know how to make games, and they have proven to be efficient as hell. They are pumping out games fast that are really really good, and that is wild in this day and age where games are taking 6+ years to develop. So yeah, Obsidian, Ninja Theory,
Let's go.
I'm excited for The Outer Worlds 2, Hellblade 2, really have that big old sack of money, that huge budget, and just to let them really, go all in on it.
Yeah.
All right, Joe.
Things are good.
Final topic for today's episode. We're just gonna have some fun. The back part of the show, we're gonna get silly. We're gonna get weird. Hope y'all watching want to get weird and silly. In this week's episode of Checkpoint, we touched on the possibility of Killer Instinct coming back. We touched on Phil Spencer coming out and saying, yeah, we'd love to do Killer Instinct, trying to find the right team, etc. Part of those conversations were the possibility of Bandai Namco being involved. Bandai Namco famously doing titles like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Soul Calibur, a respected legacy fighting game developer. And so that got me thinking. When Jez starts bringing up Bandai Namco, where my brain immediately went. Where's that Xbox Mascot fighter? If they're doing
Absolutely.
Killer Instinct, scrap that. Put that on the back burner. Jump straight into the Xbox Mascot fighter. So in the last episode of Xbox Chaturdays, your good pal, your grandfather Ains and I, we talked about and we hashed out
Great grandfather.
the 5 most iconic Xbox mascots as voted by the viewers. So what I want to do here is let's build the Xbox Mascot fighter. Let's talk about what that would look like. And the first question I'll ask you is, would you be excited about this? As a PlayStation fan who endured PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, would you want to see Xbox dive into this well?
Yes, but don't make PlayStation All-Stars. You know what I mean? Like the problem with PlayStation All-Stars is it's a great idea. Again, you have all these legacy characters in an arena. Don't try to mix up the formula.
Copy Smash 1-to-1.
Just copy it 1-to-1. Even throw in a star that makes you totally bullcrap. Like just do it. Just be unabashedly Super Smash Brothers, and you're gonna that's my first and foremost thing. You gotta be. God, you gotta. That said, here's what I want. First character that pops into my head is the Fallout guy. I mean,
and like power armor or like Pip Boy.
Like I want the Pip Boy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't want like your character in Fallout 3 or whatever, or Power Suit guy. No. There's enough people in green in this one. I want Pip Boy in there 110%. And he could be like the Mr. Game & Watch, where he's completely 2D, So that would be my first one.
Okay. I like that.
My second pick, if I'm building out this mascot, I definitely want. I'm trying to take a look at some of the outside studios, right? But then I'm also feeling like Psychonauts 2 had such, like, having Raz in there. I think Raz could become like their Ratchet in a sense of like, here's this cool platformer that we have. So I think Raz in there could be kind of like Ness in Super Smash Brothers. Again, I'm trying to build 1-to-1 clones of Smash characters. So that's where my head's coming at. We're gonna have the Skyrim guy. He's gonna be a Link clone.
Okay,
So
I can see that.
Fushroda.
The
And like you could do,
Dovahkiin, is
yeah,
yeah.
Dovahkiin. There you go. Let's see. So we got 3 in here. What's number 4? What would be a really good?
See
Because like
what
everybody's gonna say Master Chief. That's so
Yeah,
lazy.
Master Chief, that's the obvious one. And what I love about Smash Bros is they dig into the well. They pull out some
Exactly.
obscure stuff and introduce characters you maybe didn't even know of. So you know a character I want to see, and I'm
What's that?
blanking on his name, the lead from Grabbed by the Ghoulies from Rare.
Oh damn. Okay, so Grabbed by the Ghoulies. I was
Because
thinking Blinks the Cat.
oh, Blinks the Times. Yeah, let's go. Let's
Yeah.
keep it weird. Grab by the Ghoulies guy, that whole game revolves around grabbing whatever object you can find and beating things with it. So, like, you could easily lean into that and just have him pull out whatever assortment of stuff from his body.
Yeah.
Um, I want to see. I want to see Killer Instinct characters. Like, if they are going to do it, I'd love to
Sure.
see Jago, Fulgor, Saberwolf. Let's
I'll
go.
pretend like I know those names.
Oh, wow.
I'm not a fighter guy. If it's not Smash Brothers, I don't really mess
Okay.
with it.
Well, at least Smash Bros. Is the most important fighting game of all time. So,
It really is.
um,
Anybody that says it's
Super
not.
Smash Bros. Ultimate is the greatest fighting game of all time. I will say
Yeah.
it once. I'll say it every single day until
Say
somebody
it
proves me
twice.
wrong. Xbox needs to step up and dethrone it. Can they? Will they?
I
Probably
think
not.
so.
I don't. I mean, I want them to.
You know,
I don't think they're going to do it, but maybe.
who knows? But okay, here's the most important question: the art style. What are we doing about it? Because all these characters are gonna look so different. And I seen like what's that, like WB multiverse game? Like,
Oh
they're-
yeah.
I don't want a single art style. I want them all to look like they belong in a separate universe. You know what I mean? Like I want Master Chief to look like Master Chief, not cartoon or cell shaded. I want him to look like the Master Chief, and I feel like that's very important.
I think they could do. I mean, I think Super Smash Bros. Again is a great foundation for an art style that works. They do keep certain characters very stylized, like Mr. Game and Watch, as you touched on, is 2D. But
Yeah.
I just don't want it cell shaded. As long as it's not cell shaded, as long as it's not cartoony, I want
Yeah.
each character to feel like they are coming out of their own universe into this game.
Yeah. I got my last one, and this one isn't the craziest pick. Like you could definitely, it would definitely be in here. Like he would be an Echo fighter, but I wanted to be a real fighter. I'm thinking who would be the Captain Falcon, and I think Captain Falcon is really like not in the way you guys think, but like very flamboyant. Like he's very like, I'm Captain Falcon. I got the style. I got the pizzazz.
Exactly.
Falcon punch. Like I'm gonna name my moves. If there's anybody that's going to name their moves, it's Cole from Gears of War. He's gonna be my Captain Falcon main, and like he's gonna be like when he's doing like the Falcon punch, he's like Coltrane baby, woo! And like, it's like I've run on whole grains, and like boom, like oh my god, yes.
Yeah, Gears, yes.
Yes.
Gears needs a couple reps at least. Coltrane would be a fantastic, because like you said,
Yeah.
very charismatic, very, very vocal. You could see him shouting out all of his moves. Ooh.
Yeah.
Coltrane,
Yeah, he's a Captain Falcon. He's a Captain Falcon clone. Yeah.
That is a... And I'm trying to think if there's any other more obscure ones that we're not thinking of, but...
Ram would also be the Ganondorf of clone as well.
Oh, the slower meteor version of the Gears. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
There you go. I'm not giving them all away, but I think I got some. I think I got some.
All right, Xbox. I hope you're listening. All right.
That's
also,
right.
Phantom Dust. 2 lead characters from Phantom Dust. Echo fighters of each other. Boom. Slap.
I'll nod and agree. But who, like, can anybody name a character from Phantom Dust?
No. God, no. I think like 5,000 people have played that game total, but you know what? Doesn't mean it can't come back. Okay.
That's right. It'll happen.
Oh, all right, Joe. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Xbox Chaturdays. I appreciate all the amazing people who joined us live. If you're listening on audio services, appreciate you listening. Joe, for the beautiful people here, where can they get a hold of you? Where can they blast you about Bloodborne? Where can they spam you at Mr. Bad Take?
Whoa. How much did Aiden pay you to say that?
$0. That is out of the bottom of my heart. Okay.
Let me real talk. I love doing this show with you. The coffee kicked in like a quarter way through the show, and I was on a different level of train of thought. But thank you. So thank you for dealing with me. This was fantastic. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So you can find me over at Mr. Bad Bit or at Mr. Good Take over on Twitter. You can find my show over at PS Trophy Room on Twitter as well. You can find my show all about PlayStation, The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players, made for the players, where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. Again, this week we're joined by the lovely Jonathan Dornbush. We got some really cool and exciting guests and interviews that I'm very excited about coming down the pipeline. So make sure you tune into the Trophy Room wherever you get your podcast service of choice, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or the video version over at the Trophy Room Show on YouTube. So there you go. That's where you can find me.
Beautiful. Joe, appreciate you. I'm glad we could come together. We could bridge the gap between the Xbox fanboys and the PlayStation fanboys, and we can say, you know what? It doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be ugly,
like
y'all. We can have, different preferences for video game platforms and not want to violently, I don't know, attack each other online.
Yeah. Oh, also, if I could just say one thing. And this one's to Jez. Jez Corden, if you're watching, if you're listening, please stop posting the food pics. I saw a frozen pickle lollipop thing. I was haunted for days. It's like
at this point, Jez is going to have to start eating the things he posts. All right, that's where I'm at. If he's going to post that vile, disgusting garbage on my Twitter feed, he's gonna have to eat it. I want a video of him eating a pops a pickle or whatever the heck, whatever God.
Well, he's gonna call that bluff. You're gonna see him like a video of him eating mayonnaise. Just
let's go
out of the jar.
Yeah, if he has the gumption to do that, then I'll allow whatever food he wants to post. Fair game.
I feel like he's the anti-Shuhei Yoshida. Shuhei will like post this beautiful, like delicate, like thing, right? It's just a beautiful meal I've never seen before. And then Jez is just like, I made a mayo sandwich, mayo pickle sandwich, and just I'm like, please stop.
Please stop. Please stop.
Love you, Jez. Come on the show. That's my open invitation. Come on the Trophy and talk about.
Come on down. Okay, everybody. We are wrapping this up. Have a fantastic weekend and take care.